Hi kids, my name's James and I'm going to show you my garden, and hopefully on this channel we're going to learn some things, we're going to look at some cool stuff, and I don't know, if maybe somebody finds this channel they'll ask questions that maybe I can answer, and if I can't answer I can find the answer too. I am a certified Florida Master Gardener, and so is my girlfriend. And I'm going to leave her name out of this unless she chooses to participate in this channel. But anyway, so we're going to take a tour of the garden, if you don't mind. This is our little, one of many actually here, little ornamental pineapples. And I have lots of coleus around the area. This is just a little strawberry jar that I kind of stuck some bromeliads and orchids in. I got some oncidiums here, dancing ladies, and I always forget. You'll find out that I always forget names of stuff, and then I remember later. The other orchid that's not a phalaenopsis starts with a V or something, maybe not. Anyway, it's our little pond. There's little fishies in there. They're somewhere in there. We've got some pickerel weed that is in bloom right now, and then it's a full-size pineapple, and some basil that's waning, seen better days. Oregano that's doing very well, and it's a beet top that I've had sort of discovered was starting to sprout leaves in our compost bin, so I pulled it out of the compost bin because I like the foliage on it, and I stuck it in a pot. That's another little ornamental dwarf pineapple, and it's a full-size real pineapple that'll give us a fruit eventually. Probably, these things take a long time, a couple years usually, to produce a fruit. This one's probably been around a year and a half, so I'm hoping that I don't know, in the next few months I'll see a little fruit popping up out there, and then it'll take it another 6 months to really well, 3 months, 3 to 4 months probably. This is my lovely blue-eyed grass, which is a Florida native. It's actually a member of the iris family, even though it obviously looks like grass, but it gets these cool little flowers on it. Come on, focus. There you go. And so it's a cool plant. It likes wet, likes dry, doesn't matter. You can plant it. Looks like grass most of the time, and then in the spring, it'll sprout these cool little blue flowers all over it. We got some more up here in a basket with some purple queen. I like to mingle a lot of things. It adds layers, and I'm a container guy. My girlfriend likes to put stuff in the ground, which is fine, obviously. But yeah, I'm a container guy. So got some ground orchids, obviously bromeliads. You're going to see lots and lots of bromeliads. Bougainvillea, and then what I've done is I've got a little pot of orchids back there, and I got them poking through like that. This is coleus. It's in a pot back here, and the coleus loves to roam. It searches for the light, so if you put it in shade behind something, it'll find a way to poke through, and I'll show you why. I got a couple of different varieties of coleus in there, and more. So there's 3 small pots of coleus behind this arbor. It's pergola, and I train them to sort of poke out. So now they've gotten pretty roamy. They're very nosy, so they like sticking their noses in a lot of different places, and they will grow their stalks long and hardy and firm and tough, and they'll get woody just to be able to roam and find that light that they want. They don't want direct sun because they'll start to wilt, but they do like the light. Just some more stuff here. That was our rosemary Christmas tree that the remnants of still have growing here. Some Sansevieria cylindrica. I have to find the name of this tree because every time I talk about it I always forget what it is. It's a cool tree. It's got these cool tape like leaves, and then on the ends of the leaves you can see little flowers, little tiny flowers on all the ends of the leaves, all around it. Pretty cool. Little peperomia back there, and a ZZ plant, one of the easiest plants to grow indoors or out. Just don't put it in full sun. Water every once in a while. Doesn't like to have its feet wet, and by feet wet I mean having the soil moist all the time. a lot of plants, you know, I've got these aquatic plants. These are all the plants that are in the pond. They love, you know, the little papyrus down there, this guy. And by the way, that's a little barley hay, barley straw. I'll talk about that for a second. A little barley straw packet that helps keep the water clear in a pond. If you got a pond, you can look it up. This is some swamp potato, Florida native. Grows in the waterways down here. Same with the pickerel weed that I showed you before. Florida native water aquatic plant. There's some more swamp potato over there. And obviously the cattails. That is an actual volunteer that we just kind of let alone. You're going to see bromeliads everywhere. The lady palms. More coleus. Nice fern. I think that's a wart fern. It hasn't warted yet. I'm pretty sure this is the one that, I could be wrong. This could be a different, maybe a leather fern. And then spider plants, another easily maintained. Another plant that doesn't like its feet wet. Coleus likes moist soil. Some of the coleus I have, depending on the pot size and how big the plant is, I'll have to water twice a day just to keep it from wilting. It's a real water hog, but they're just beautiful foliage, and I love them. A little critter house up there, and then got some more orchids, some ones that we acquired from a house that was being torn down, and they were going to rebuild, and they were going to re-landscape, and they told us we could have the orchids and the bromeliads take whatever we wanted, and we did. So a lot of the bromeliads come from the house. We were given permission, so it's all good. More peperomia, and then a different variety of peperomia than the one in the pot. That's in a pot right there, and that's in the ground. It's a little different variety, little bare leaves, and my little tiki guy carved that, handmade, really cool. I like it. Gets lit up at night. So orchids in the trees, you'll see all kinds of stuff. We tried to put orchids all kinds of places, hoping that they'll take root and attach on their own. A little ponytail palm I've had since it was about 6 inches high, and now it's about 4 feet high. The next video I'll show the front. I'm just going to do the back today, just as an introduction. So more orchids. Got a nice spike going on there in the trees, and then we got tons of bromeliads. Now, one thing about bromeliads, they hold water in their cup. If you're going to have bromeliads, they need water in their cup. But especially here in Florida and other places too, standing water breeds mosquitoes. I don't use the tablets that you can put in them that will not hurt the plant but kill the mosquito larvae. But I mean, for obvious reasons, we have so many bromeliads on the property. It would be economically impossible. But you can disrupt the larvae by disturbing the water inside the cups, which I do as much as possible. So I water a lot. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot here to water. And I water by hand, and when I do that, I make sure I spray the bromeliads really good down in their cups and make sure that I give them fresh new water as much as I possibly can, and that disrupts the life cycle of the mosquito larvae, at least in theory. So that's the story I'm sticking with. These are some bromeliads just with recent spikes. This spike's about probably, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months, and it's still, it's still decent looking. Hasn't completely gone dead. That's a newer one. That's probably a month, and this is probably a couple weeks. So these are new spikes. All right, let me go back this way. And I'm going to try to avoid saying as much as I can, but I'm not a professional, so you're going to hear me stutter. You're going to hear me say you're going to hear me mispronounce stuff. You're going to hear me forget names. But I'm going to try my damnedest to be at least slightly entertaining, because I have a kind of green thumb. Kind of green thumb is the name of this channel. And we do the best we can, but we're not always successful. And when we're not, we just try again. These are crotons that we got real leggy. This is in kind of a shady spot, so when crotons are in full sun, they'll produce more foliage, be a little happier. This is kind of in a shady spot, you know, on the side of the house, so they get a little leggy. So we just, every once in a while, we just have to hack them all the way back and let them start from scratch. And they do. You know, you've got, this is all new growth from when we literally just chopped them back. It's a wild coffee, another Florida native, great bushy plant, nice shrub. This one was just needed to be hacked back. The other one was doing okay. The corn plant, everybody knows, everybody's seen them in their dentist or doctor's office struggling with really crappy leaves. They will bloom usually around Christmas time if they get enough sun. Again, in a shade, flowers will bloom in the sun. Flowering plants like sun. If you have a flowering plant and it's in the shade, it most likely won't bloom very often, or maybe never bloom. So it's been 2 years since this corn plant has bloomed. When it does, it puts out an inflorescence of flowers, and an inflorescence is kind of like a stalk with a bunch of flowers on it, which is like instead of like a single flower. So like with the pickerel weed, that is an inflorescence. And even the orchid is kind of an inflorescence because it's multiple flowers on one stalk. Then you have, you know, like in this purple queen, just for an instance, just because I have it here, but that's, you know, that wouldn't be considered an inflorescence. That's just a flower. So if you get the meaning. Anyway, so going back to the corn plant, it will put out a stalk, and it is, I think, it was part of the Dracaena family, which is what this is over here, and it does the same thing. It'll put out a stalk of an inflorescence of flowers that is like nose candy that won't get you high. I mean, it is sugar to the nose. It is so sweet smelling, and it's amazing. And when you have a corn plant in flower, you know it. You will smell it. It is very strong, especially at dusk, because it tends to be more of a moth pollinator type of thing, where the flowers will smell stronger at night than they do during the day. And you can walk outside with a corn plant, and that's all you can smell at night. So let's see what else. Simpson stopper, this shrub, another Florida native, really nice shrub. It can be a tree if you want it to be a tree, but most people keep it as a shrub. So we keep this one cut back, and this is about as big as it'll ever get, as big as we'll ever let it get. But it can get, it's probably 15-20 feet as a tree, but it really makes a great shrub. And cute white flowers in the spring, like most native Florida shrubs have. They have really cute white flowers. So let's go. We'll walk down here. More bromeliads all day long. This is a really cool one. I'm not sure of the variety of that one, but we like it. This is a Sansevieria cylindrica that's in full flower, and this also smells wonderful at night. Like there's no smell to it. If you try to sniff it, you won't smell it. But in the daytime. But if I come back out here in the evening, it'll smell. So that's what a Sansevieria looks like when it blooms. It puts out one big spike with flowers all over it. That is an inflorescence. More coleus. I love coleus, and that's quite obvious. Coleus, my lovely angel wing begonia, which is putting out some flowers, but it's not about the flowers. You can see some little flowers under there. This thing is not about the flowers. It's all about the foliage. And you can see with the cool pink dots on the leaves. And then different kinds of coleus. You know, these are just really cool foliage plants. You know, this looks like it was spattered with paint. This is a thornless crown of thorns. It did have a bloom on it that has since fallen off, but it was given to us as a cutting. But it's a crown of thorns with no thorns. And I don't know if you people know what crown of thorns are, but I'm sure you do. The stalk grows up like that, and then it's thorns all along the stalk, and it makes these cool little flowers on top, and it constantly flowers all the time. But this one is a different variety. I guess it's a hybrid where they took the thorns out of it, which is kind of cool. So we'll see how that goes. It's the only one we got. We just got it as a cutting, but it seems to be growing. It's all new growth at the top, so I think it'll do fine. That is another dwarf ornamental pineapple. And then we have air plants all over the place, just kind of hanging out. These are Tillandsia. They'll put out a little spike, cool little flowers, basically bromeliads, but like mini bromeliads. This one will definitely get bigger. It'd be like a full-size bromeliad eventually and put out a big giant spike like bromeliads do. And I know the name of this, but I forgot, but it's a really cool little plant. It's almost like shamrocks, but it's not. I just forget the name of it. I'll think about it. This is a cool plant from Thailand, or it's an Asian plant. They use the leaves to roll up food in. I don't know that. Somebody gave it to us. I forget the name. Another plant I'll look up and maybe give the name of later. Or if somebody wants to chime in and go ahead and tell me what it is, that's fine too. And just some parsley, Italian parsley that we've had here for a long time. It's been growing here for a while. We use all the herbs that the basil, the oregano, the parsley. I use it to cook with all the time. We do. More just coleus and bromeliads and spider plants and coleus and bromeliads and spider plants. Oh my! And then we have our rain barrel, which everybody should have. It's just takes one of the downspouts and goes right into the top of it. And 55-gallon drum. There's plans online that show you exactly the best way to put a spout on it and turn it into a rain barrel. And this is what I water most of the plants here in the back with, is the rain barrel. Fresh water from the rain barrel. I use, city water as well, but for most of the plants back here in pots especially, obviously the stuff in the ground I use a hose, but in the pots I try to use the rain barrel, especially in the patio. So, assorted orchids, and these little guys, these little ornamental pineapples are so cute. Every time I get pups, I go ahead and just replant them and put them in pots, and then I've got a few now, so I'm gonna have to start giving some away, but it's all right. So more orchids. Dracaena. So this is a Dracaena. This is like the corn plant, different type, but basically very similar. This one's putting out a spike of an inflorescence. This will flower, and man, does it smell wonderful. So that'll be nice. This is Aglaonema. This is the Chinese evergreen, they call it, Aglaonema. It's one of my award-winning plants, actually, which I'm very proud of. One of these that few years ago that I had. This is just a remnant of the main one that I had that I've since split up and taken a million cuttings of and everything. But it won Best of Show at our Fort Lauderdale Garden Club a few years ago. This is the rattlesnake plant, and this is another. This is why I say the channel is kind of green thumb, because this plant was doing terrible for so long and I couldn't figure out why. And then I finally actually did some research on it, and it doesn't like its feet wet. It wants a little bit of water, and then it wants to dry out, and then it wants a little bit of water, and it wants to dry out. Now, I'm a watering dude. I water every day, literally. And then there are some things that I've just learned that they don't want to be watered every day. So I've had to learn the hard way. Now, I don't kill much anymore. I used to all the time, but I don't kill much. But sometimes I see things struggling, and then I gotta, sort of stop being lazy, look up something and see why it's struggling, and then I learn something, and then then I adjust my regimen, whatever it is, watering regimen, fertilization, which everything likes it to eat. So if you fertilize, especially timed release like the Dynamite and the major box store brands are fine, but time release in the little balls, the little spheres, whatever that releases it slowly through a membrane, a polymeric membrane, is the way to go. Because that way you can sprinkle once in the fall and be fine, and sprinkle once in the spring and be fine, and they'll feed slowly throughout the seasons. Another Aglaonema, just more of the old original. And Peace Lily, Jack in the Pulpit with no flowers. And this is a cool little plant. This is a bird's nest fern we have back here. And since it's a fern, it doesn't mind being, you know, out of the sun. But really cool plant, along with some more orchids. And this is a cool little orchid that we have. I'll show you here. It's called a Brassavola. And it has these long, thin leaves, and out of the leaves shoot these really cool flowers. And it doesn't flower very much. This is a small one. I just acquired it a couple years ago, so it hasn't really done that much. But these are really cool flowers. They do smell at night. This is another one of those moth pollinator types of things where they rely on the night creatures to smell them and fertilize them, or pollinate them. They stick their little proboscis up there, and there's some nectar in there somewhere, I'm sure. Alright, so that's it for, 21 minutes already. That was enough for my first video on this channel. I hope you like it. Like, subscribe. I don't even know how to do that yet, so if you know how to do it, go ahead and do that. And I'll try to figure all the rest of this out soon. We'll take a tour of the front, you know, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? And then I'll try to post content of horticultural stuff. And that's it. My name's James. I have kind of a green thumb.